Hey, what's going on, Z Nation? Zaid here, ZSPN, and today, guys, we're going to be talking about the Los Angeles Lakers and the offseason. Now, guys, before I get into the details and my thoughts and my opinions about the Lakers and their expectations going into the offseason when it comes to free agencies and the draft, just everything that goes down when it comes to the Los Angeles Lakers, before I get into it, please make sure to subscribe to the channel, like my videos, and hit that notification bell so you will know when I upload on this channel. And of course, like all of my social media sites, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at ZSPN. And of course, guys, I have a podcast now, ZSPN Podcast. It is on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. It is on all across podcast platforms and every distributions out there. So I just really do appreciate you guys. You show me the love, support on those particular platforms and my social media sites, and of course this channel. By subscribing, it will just show you how great of a support you guys give me on my channel. It kind of shows me that I'm doing a good job and just showing that you guys are just liking my content. And I just try my best all the time to give you guys every single update, speculations when it comes to the Los Angeles Lakers, and of course all across sports platforms, even if it's the Denver Broncos. So I really do appreciate the love, support, and please make sure to subscribe to the channel, like all of my social media sites, and subscribe to the podcast. I really do appreciate it. Now, guys, getting into the Los Angeles Lakers and the offseason, there's not a lot of news as of late when it comes to the Los Angeles Lakers. I basically said the gist of it in my last video when it came to Dennis Schroeder and the Lakers situation of bringing back certain players. And the only news that are just basically out there now is that the recent one is with LeBron James changing his number to number 6. Now, I have some thoughts and opinions about that. It's just basic ones. I think LeBron James, of him, every time he wears the number 6, he always performed to the best of his ability. I mean, look what he did in Miami. He won 2 championships and had basically, MVPs left and right. And he just had a great career where he was wearing the number 6 jersey, and I think it all had to do. I mean, sure, he said his favorite number is number 6 because of the USA games, but the Miami Heat, they retired number 23 because of Michael Jordan. So I never understood it, but I think just out of respect. I mean, the Dallas Mavericks, they retired Kobe Bryant's number 24. So. Even though he never played a single game in the Dallas uniform. So, but it's when it's all said and done, LeBron James wearing the number 6 as a Los Angeles Laker, I think it's going to be very interesting to watch how he will perform to the best of his ability. Because he even said that he will promise the Lakers Nation that somewhere around the spectrum that we are going to be on top again, sort of deal. So, hopefully number 6 will be a great thing to watch. I mean, sad thing is I bought a Lakers jersey, LeBron James, number 23. I mean, I don't think it's such a big deal, but, it's just, I just bought it recently. So, it's just one of those type of situations. It's like, come on, LeBron. I mean, what am I going to do with the 23 now? I mean, but at the same time, it's like, he did win a championship for us as number 23. So, it's just kind of, a win-win type of situation. I mean, I think it's a good idea to have it. But, for those of you who want to go and get a LeBron James number 6 jersey, go right ahead. If you already have a LeBron jersey as a Laker 23, keep it, because that's also a memory if you want to keep that. So that's a memory for me. So I'm going to stick with the number 23 LeBron James jersey, because that's always been that sort of notion that's been LeBron number 23. That's always been that way for me. And For some reason, LeBron number 6 is just a whole type of situation, type of atmosphere, if you will. So, but hopefully he performs the best of his ability next season as a Los Angeles Laker in a number 6 jersey. And just a side note, it's because the reason maybe he changed his number to number 6 is because of Space Jam 2. So that's also another scenario as well. So, but because of that, LeBron James is going to be wearing number 6 next season, right? But he's going to be surrounded with different players now going into the next season. I mean, it just looks that way. You still have Anthony Davis, who I think is still going to wear number 3, but he may change his mind and go back to wearing number 23 because of it. So, but LeBron James, he has Anthony Davis, and so far the Lakers are really looking like a team that's going to start building again, in a sense, because you have a situation with Dennis Schroeder, which I mentioned in my last video. He said he does want to come back and have a sort of redemption type of a season, try to redeem himself, trying to be a catch and shoot type of player now, going into the off season. But at the same time, you have to look at his salary, what he wants for a new contract with the Los Angeles Lakers. The Lakers tried to give him an extension around $84 to $87 million, but he rejected that because he thinks he can get more. It's kind of a situation now with him and the Los Angeles Lakers, who still remains to be seen. I personally think that the Lakers should try to bring him back because they have a salary cap issue. So if they somehow want to move on from Dennis Schroeder, the only point guard they can possibly get is somewhere around $5 to $10 million. So I mean, the Lakers are really cap short when it comes to signing a high price type of point guard. I mean, they can't go and get a Chris Paul and give him like anything he wants because the Lakers just have an issue with the cap issue. So it's kind of a type of situation with that. I mean, I know Lakers Nation don't want Dennis Schroeder back because what he did in the playoffs, but at the same time, he's the basically only point guard that can really be like a top 15, top 20 point guard in the league and can shoot for you. He could, he has a speed about him, and he's just a point guard that you can honestly build around when it comes to at the starter position. So, there's another situation of that, and the Lakers just have a lot on their plate when it comes to their situation with Dennis Schroeder going into the playoffs. The off season. So, you have that notion. So, bringing back Dennis Schroeder is probably one of the top priorities for the Los Angeles Lakers. And then you have some others. And me personally, these are the key priorities to bring back next season. Alex Caruso and THT. Because these are the two players that really step up when it matters most. I mean, Alex Caruso, did you see how he played during the play-in tournament, and also when it came to the couple of games in the playoffs in the first round? He brought the defense, and at times, when the Lakers are just falling short by just maybe like 6 to 8 points, Alex Caruso just out of nowhere, his speed and his agility just comes out of nowhere. His defensive side comes out of nowhere and just scores for the Los Angeles Lakers at times, or passes. He's a good playmaker, when it's all said and done. And plus, he has a good relationship with LeBron James. So, and LeBron James, he loves Alex Caruso. I mean, let's not deny it. His first year with the Los Angeles Lakers, you can just tell that he appreciated Alex Caruso as a player, and he wants him in his lineup or his roster any single moment and any single day. So I personally think that having Alex Caruso with the Los Angeles Lakers next season will play a huge role for the Lakers and their success, possibly going back to the playoffs or maybe being a championship contender. So, we just have to put that into sort of a perspective now. So, Alex Caruso, he's another thing. THT, Tatum Horton-Tucker, he's another priority as well. He is a young, upcoming, player in the making that could be an all-star someday. He has that ability. He can shoot for you. He can score for you. And, at a little bit of a defensive side, but at the same time, we really, saw from him is his his offensive side of the ball. And that was really came to fruition when LeBron and Anthony Davis, they were injured, and we needed, some sort of offensive side of attacking the ball. And that was THT. He brought that to the Los Angeles Lakers. And, I'm just going to put this out there right now. He is a good asset. He could be a good trade asset somehow down the line for the Los Angeles Lakers. I mean, we saw in the trade deadline, the Toronto Raptors, they wanted to trade Kyle Lowry for like Dennis Schroeder and a THT type of trade package. And the Lakers refused. But at the same time, why though? Because of THT. His ability, his trade asset, his ability to be that guy that that you obviously need. So, and honestly, guys, I just think THT was, he will be a good asset to the team. When it comes to being a player coming off the bench, or maybe possibly he could be in the starting lineup. You never know. I mean, there's the situation there, with the Lakers in the offseason. You never know what will come up, what will happen. If somehow they need to trade a player like KCP to a team to get, some draft picks or some sort of player, you can just tell, and you can just, maybe wonder that THT will be a huge part of the team moving forward with LeBron James and Anthony Davis. I mean, he could be the shooting guard for the team at the starting lineup, or maybe the point guard. You never know. If Dennis Schroeder doesn't work out, you have THT, because at certain moments in certain into the season, when like Dennis Schroeder was like dealing with COVID, THT needed to step up at that particular position as well. So I just think those two players, Alex Caruso and THT, is a priority to bring back. The third option is like Dennis Schroeder, and I know some of you may disagree with me on this, but Andre Drummond is another option and a priority for the Lakers when it comes to the big position, because the Lakers they don't really have a center, if you will. Montrezl Harrell, I'm going to tell you guys this right now, he is not going to come back to the Los Angeles Lakers. He's not going to pick up his player option, and I just think that he just wants to feel appreciated and just somehow be at a different situation where he is needed. And I could just tell, guys, when earlier in the season, he was great. He was just playing offensively, playing the sixth man of the year that he is. But Frank Vogel did not use him to the best of his ability, and we had to blame Frank Vogel on that. And that's why I just think that Montrezl Harrell, he is going to move on with the Los Angeles, with moving on from the Los Angeles Lakers, and probably go somewhere else. And I don't really blame him. So and then you have Marc Gasol. You never know about his situation either. He has a team option, so the Lakers could potentially bring him back, or they could move on from him. You never know. And it kind of looks like that, he wants to move on, but you never know. He could remain with the Los Angeles Lakers, because he did sign a 2-year contract with that second year being a team option. So, we just have to see with the Marc Gasol situation. But, Andre Drummond, that's another issue as well. It's similar to what, Dennis Schroeder is. It's just, how much? How much do you want me to stay? So that type of situation. The Lakers are hoping to give him like and basically all the Lakers nation, we are kind of hoping that we give him like a veteran minimum, somewhere around 5 maybe 7, 8, or like $10 million, somewhere around there, just to sign maybe a 1-year contract and just see what the season will bestow on Andre Drummond. But I think he wants to get paid. He wants to get like a long term, somewhere around like $12 to $15 million. Excuse me, somewhere around there. And I just think that that's where he wants. But you never know. You don't know about the mindset that what he's thinking. Lakers, the Lakers organization, they want him back because he's big part of the Lakers' future moving forward. Even Frank Vogel raves about him as well. So, and plus, we still haven't seen what he is more capable of being with this Lakers team and alongside LeBron and Anthony Davis. We saw, because, due to the circumstances, Anthony Davis was injured and he was just coming back. And then you had LeBron James, he got injured and then, didn't really have the chemistry between him and Andre Drummond. We saw a bit of a glimpse in the playoffs, but, it just wasn't really the type of chemistry that we were kind of hoping to see. Maybe if he stayed with the Lakers like maybe a couple of years or just that one season, possibly a whole season, maybe we could see that. So I just think, salary cap wise, it's kind of hard to see what the Lakers will do when it comes to Andre Drummond's situation. It's kind of similar to Dennis Schroeder, so it's kind of hard to tell about that sort of a predicament. So, we just have to see. We just have to see what the Lakers will do when it comes to that sort of instance of bringing back certain players. There's also Markieff Morris. I mean, he wants to remain with the Los Angeles Lakers. He wants to win championships alongside LeBron and Anthony Davis. So there's that sort of aspect of those certain players who want to come back. But, we just have to see about the circumstances of the Lakers and salary cap. Because, it's kind of playing a huge role of the Lakers going into the offseason. And, I'm kind of thinking about some other free agents that the Lakers may pursue and could be a solid, maybe a good replacement for these particular players. Players like, guys like players like Derrick Rose. He is potentially going to be a free agent, and you never know about his circumstances with him and the New York Knicks. If he somehow wants to re-sign with them, still up in the air. You never know. He did make around like $8 to $9 million, a couple of years ago. So, and plus this season. So, if he wants to play that route and just somehow wants to get paid with a veteran minimum, the Lakers could do that sort of pathway if somehow Dennis Schroeder doesn't work out. Derrick Rose, he's a solid player. I think he will fit well with LeBron and Anthony Davis and potentially the team that's going to be built around those particular players. He played very well in the playoffs, and I think he's just one of those type of players that you can start him and you can, possibly bench him and be like the sixth man, if you will. So Derrick Rose is somebody that I think that the Lakers should consider, because I'm also thinking about the cap space as well. I mean, I can just not say the Lakers should go after somebody like a Chris Paul or maybe somebody like DeMar DeRozan or just I can't go that route and just say that. I mean, it's a possibility. But, the cap space, okay, that's the number one issue for the Lakers. I mean, that's the sad part. I mean, I hate to say it. I mean, we can just be fans and not care about the cap and just say, the Lakers should go pursue that particular player, this player, that player. I mean, we're going to be championships contenders if we get those players. We can think that, and we can obviously go that route, but at the same time, there's also some details into that particular situation. The cap. Sadly, the cap is really a problem for the Lakers. They can only sign players that are like veteran minimums or somebody that's like, you can take $10 million or $12 million. That sort of route. I mean, that's only the thing that the Lakers can do. Other than maybe re-signing the players that they can possibly bring back with Alex Caruso, THT, or maybe possibly Dennis Schroeder. So that sort of aspect, and Andre Drummond. So that sort of aspect. So, you have Derrick Rose. And then you have Kyle Lowry, but I think he wants to get paid. So I'm just putting out names right now. I don't think they're going to happen. I'm seeing a lot of trades from Russell Westbrook and Damian Lillard, Bradley Beal. I mean, those certain players. I mean, it's not out of the question, but I don't think it will happen. I just don't see it happen, especially with Damian Lillard. I think the franchise of that particular organization, the Portland Trailblazers, I think they want to keep him and do whatever it takes to build a team around him to the best of their abilities. And he has a big contract, so I don't think the Lakers can pull it off unless they add a team to it. But I don't think a team will possibly help the Lakers get a player like Damian Lillard. Okay, so hopefully that way. So I'm trying to think about Bradley Beal. It is a possibility. I mean, you could just put a package together and possibly put Alex Caruso, no, not Alex Caruso, Kyle Kuzma, and then you have KCP. Maybe you have to throw in a THT or maybe a couple of draft picks to get Bradley Beal, or it's a kind of similar situation with Russell Westbrook. I mean, he is making around $42 million. I think it's around the price range of what the Lakers have when it comes to Kyle Kuzma's new contract, and also with KCP, who is obviously making around $15 million. So it's around those sort of price range. So you have to think of that aspect, and also the draft picks as well. So it's kind of a situation there, and you have to think about that sort of aspect if you want to pull a trade like that. And but it's kind of hard to say. It may happen. It just has to do with the circumstances and the status of the teams like Washington Wizards or and stuff like that. So you have to look at that sort of aspect as well. I'm not saying it's not going to happen, but it may happen. You never know. I mean, lots of things happen in the offseason that just goes very well for the Lakers at times and other teams in the NBA when it comes to trade-wise. So we have to look forward to that. It's too early to tell. But I have been seeing some posts lately on Facebook when it comes to that sort of aspect, and I think the more realistic trades are like Russell Westbrook. I mean, because he has that 2-year contract around $42 million, so it's kind of a sort of I guess a much reasonable type of trade if you want to do that by adding Kyle Kuzma or KCP into the package deal with some draft picks to make it happen. But still remains to be seen about that. But looking at other free agents, I mean, I mentioned Kyle Lowry, and I mentioned Derrick Rose. There's also a player like Carmelo Anthony. He could get a veteran minimum, signed with the Lakers, possibly play with LeBron James for the first time, and possibly compete for a championship. So and guys, he's a solid player. I mean, at the age of his career, I think he'll be a great asset to the Los Angeles Lakers. So hopefully that happens, because I'm a big Carmelo Anthony fan, and I just think it was just great for the Portland Trailblazers for signing a player that everyone was saying that he is washed up. I never really thought that. I just think he just never had the opportunity to play for an NBA team that obviously needed him. So you have Carmelo Anthony in that sort of aspect, and then you have Otto Porter Jr. Back in around the trade deadline or the buyout market, he was in the conversation of signing with the Los Angeles Lakers before we signed Ben McLemore, which, by the way, I have to say the Lakers should also bring back Ben McLemore, because at certain games that we saw from him, he does know how to shoot. He's a sharpshooter, and I just think the Lakers need to look for shooters in the free agency market, and one of them is Ben McLemore. So I forgot to bring up his name. So Ben McLemore, I think, is another priority for the Lakers to bring back as well. So let's just hope that happens. But Carmelo Anthony, that sort of aspect of him, of the Lakers pursuing also. And then you have Otto Porter Jr. When it comes to other centers, they could get a Robin Lopez. That's another possibility as well. I'm trying to think about some other centers. JaVale McGee. Hey, we could bring him back. So, if he doesn't want to re-sign with the Denver Nuggets, you never know. He could potentially end up with the Los Angeles Lakers again. You never know, but it still remains to be seen. So, you have those particular players. Try to think about some others. Just, I don't know, Navy Bradley. We could bring him back as well to a veteran minimum. You never know. So that's another scenario. Trying to think about some others. There are a lot. Those certain players that I mentioned, they could be a potential landing spot for the Los Angeles Lakers. You never know. So, but guys, it's just the offseason for the Los Angeles Lakers is so up in the air. We have no idea what's on the mindset of the Lakers moving forward. It's so early to tell because the playoffs are still being played. And I know the Lakers, when it comes to draft-wise, they have the 22nd overall pick. So it's around that sort of range. I'm not sure who they are going to pursue. Maybe it's going to be a center because they're looking at all positions. All positions. And I don't even know any player on the top of my head that the Lakers will pursue. But, the Lakers have a history of drafting great players in drafts. Look at THT. That's just another example. And Jordan Clarkson and, those certain players. Kyle Kuzma at one point, it's just Larry Nance Jr. The Lakers, I'm just putting out names because I'm trying to think of some. But, the Lakers do have a good history of drafting good players. So, and I'm not even sure about anyone in the top of my head. But, once that does come to fruition, if any sort of players come into the Lakers sphere of being a potential draftee. But you never know. The Lakers may trade it, be a sort of a package deal to get somebody like a Russell Westbrook. But, still remains to be seen. I'm just throwing out things, guys, because, this is a lot of expectations, a lot of things that the Lakers may do to improve the roster if somehow the cap space is really hurting them and they can't do anything about it. So I'm trying to, make some realistic type of signee predictions. And once that happens, I think, it's kind of hard to tell of what the Lakers' mindset going into the offseason. But knowing Rob Pelinka, he's going to do whatever it takes to build a team around LeBron and, just try his best to, take the Lakers back into playoff contention or maybe possibly be championship contenders. So, we just have to see about that, guys. And I just want to give you guys my thoughts and my opinions about the Lakers' expectations in the offseason. I just threw out names that the Lakers may pursue or may possibly bring back. Those are basically realistic type of signing situations that the Lakers may do in the offseason. But, still remains to be seen about that. There's just a lot of expectations for the Los Angeles Lakers in the offseason moving forward. And I really want to know, guys, your thoughts and your opinions about the Lakers and their circumstances going into the offseason. As I mentioned, the salary cap is going to be a major role for the Lakers moving forward. And there's just a lot of things the Lakers need to, prioritize when it comes to building the roster again. And with so thin cap space that they need to deal with. And hopefully the Lakers just, get their act together and, get shooters, get point guards, shooting guards, centers. I mean, there's a lot of things the Lakers need to do to build a team back to a playoff team or possibly a championship contending team moving forward. And I'll keep you guys up to date about everything that goes down when it comes to the Los Angeles Lakers. Make sure to subscribe and like this video. Like all of my social media sites of ZSPN on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Like my podcast, ZSPN, on Anchor. It is also on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Breaker, Radio Public, all of those great podcast platforms. It's just basically the same content that I give on YouTube, only it is on a podcast now. So I really do appreciate the love and support you guys give me on my channel, and of course on all of my social media sites, and very soon with the new podcast. I really do appreciate the love and support you guys give me, and hopefully when it comes to the Lakers and news update speculations, I will deliver you all on this channel and all across social media sites, and I'll see you all in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Go Lakers, and guys, please make sure to hit that notification bell. It'll make sure that you guys will know when I upload every single moment of the day. Just make sure to hit that notification bell, and of course subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you all in the next video. Thanks so much for watching. Go Lakers. Take it easy, guys. Stay safe out there.